Now, Owen, this is a question about your screenwriting process. Do you approach it from the standpoint of, let's say, a novel, and then you turn it into an adaptation, or do you just straight out go for the screenplay?
You know, there's not really one answer for that. I mean, I do find, so it's usually not, I mean, sometimes I have an idea that I think is going to be a novel, and then I write, I don't know, 50,000 words, and I find out it's not a novel, which is really depressing. But I sometimes, I usually take an idea, and then I have a big notebook that's blank, that it doesn't have lines. Because I'm such a writer, I'm not an artist. But I start with something that doesn't have lines, so I can think of it outside of lines in some ways. And then I start sort of writing down things and circling things and ideas and popping around. The stuff that I don't show anybody. Like I let in all the weird ideas. I'm a very big believer in having a notebook that no one gets to see, so you can write down the weirdest, most offensive, the strangest, even the bad ideas. Because I believe that when your mind is open to all the bad ideas, there's some brilliant idea that's way in the back that says, like, well, I would never usually show up because I get turned away at the door, usually. But then they see that everyone's coming to this party, and they kind of wander in, like, oh damn, the bouncer's off for the night, and I'm getting in. And that's the idea that I'm like, woohoo, come up here. So I sometimes start that way. And then usually a story kind of starts to announce itself to me, whether it's going to be a short story, a novel, or a screenplay. It kind of sort of starts to sort of build out its strength. I think a lot in screenplay structure these days. So I've started recently, I'm just finishing up like a new short story now, but I'm realizing that I'm writing the short story with a feature shape, which is new for me. But it's got like, I can see the 3-act arc in it. I can see how that's working out. So that's become a new thing in itself. But sometimes, I mean, I think when I do it best, it's allowing the idea to lead me. And some ideas deserve to be a 2-page story. And some ideas want to be a 50-page story. And some ideas want someone to give me $1 million so I can make a movie. And it's just sort of like hearing, wow, what the idea wants to be.
That's interesting because we do something similar where my writing partner and I, we'll have we haven't done it in a while, but it makes me want to do it again. We would have a session where we would go through that Google Drive of ideas that I mentioned, and then we would pick one at random, and then we had to spend an hour working on that idea, no matter what it was.
Love it. And
we just had to develop it. Yep. And he was like, oh, I don't want to write that one. That's not the one that excites me, but it forces me into that habit, and then sometimes great ideas will still come out of that, and then those start to merge together. But yeah, it's like just letting those things come to the forefront and forcing yourself. You know, I think writing so much is about structure and then breaking that structure as a writer, but structure as in creating time for yourself to write.
Yeah.
Otherwise, nothing ever happens.
And that's like creating time for your right to type. I mean,
yes.
To actually sit type. But also the thing of like creating time where you're like, oh, like that idea, like, all right, this is an idea. I don't know if it works or not, but I'm giving myself the next hour to sit down and just sort of play with the idea. Man, it's hard for us to remember to play.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's essential.
Well, that's something about breaking the structure, too,
yeah,
right? It's part of it. I mean, I do it writing. I do it driving. So I'll write when I'm driving. I'm not actually writing. Yeah. I'll take my phone, I'll do a recorder, and I'll just be, for whatever reason, just like, the sunroof open and all that, it just kind of opens myself up, and I'll put on some like weird ethereal ambient music or something, and then ideas will kind of come to my mind, and I'm just like, oh, they do this, and then now they also have voice to text, so I can take that, I can send it, and it types it up for me. It's a little jarbled, but that's fine. The idea was probably jarbled. So stuck in traffic, I take advantage of it, or I'm, or I listen to a podcast.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I do it like by hiking or in the shower. Mm-hmm. It just costs me 4 phones. Yeah, awful.
You need to get a Google Home, so you can say, "Hey Google, start recording," and just talk.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Oh wow. Okay.
100% doing that. Google Home.
Well, now they have the little robot that can follow you through your house.
I have children. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's nothing more daunting than, opening up a new document as the blank screen, But the idea that the play section comes into it, always having something beforehand seems to be a huge way, like having the notebook, doing a brainstorming session, writing things out, because then it feels like you're not starting from zero when you see that blank wall.
Yeah.
And so, no, that's great. And so now moving over back to the paranormal section. So for Night Owl, what's next for y'all? What are your next steps?
It's right now we're just coming back from a year-long hiatus. So COVID wasn't kind to me. Suffered some tragedies in my life, so I had to put the show on hold. There was nothing else I could do. And I'm proud to say it took a lot to get here, but we're tonight at midnight, our first episode launches after a year. And it's just going to be a different type of, it's going to be the same type of show, but without the strict schedule. I think what I did is I created the show. I didn't know what I was creating. I just knew I wanted to do something that was what I would love. And I was listening to paranormal shows. This was, of course, before yours was out there too, remember? But it was like, it was shit out there. It was, a host was just reading off emails. That's all that was out there. Like, it was just, I have 3 paranormal stories submitted today, so here we go. And then it's like monotone voice the whole time, all the way through. So I was like, I want to go out and like add some spice and just like get like, when I do my show, it's you're traveling with me with my microphone. So if we go to a tattoo parlor, you're hearing the buzzing of the tattoos. You're hearing the guys tell their story from their own mouths, and it was definitely textual. A lot of dynamics to it, and it's what I wanted. But then it progressed. I was just going to capture the stories and then just end it. Like, they're the stories. But then I was like, I was so infatuated with my first case that it turned into I called my friend Sarah and was like, you say you can see the dead. You'd come with me somewhere? And she's like, okay. And then she's like, well, there's a woman in the room there. And I was just like, okay, this is not a public haunting. No one's heard these stories. How did you find that? So that's kind of where it started, and now I'm just taking it, and it's grown to where these cases are much larger. So I started off with podcasting, you have to have a release schedule. That's what they told me. Now I'm just doing that to the industry, and I'm like, my show is not like a guy sitting there reading or 2 people talking. And I am like, I basically ended up in the hospital twice because of stress from deadlines. That now I've told myself I'm just going to do a case, and when it's done, I release it. So now that's what the Night Owl's going to be like. I'm taking my time with it, and I'm basically just diving deep into these cases, but not rushing them. So I think it's going to benefit the show. It's just that we're not going to have an episode on a regular schedule coming out all the time.
I think people understand self-care.
I think so, and that's what I've been announcing to the fan base, and they've been very supportive, and in that. And then also, I haven't told anybody this, but I'm in the process of developing another show as well, just on top of the Night Owl. It's a lot more manageable too, just so I'm not going to do 2 Night Owl versions. Night Owl's incredibly hard to do. But I have a new idea that I'm pretty excited about, and it's a whole other style, but it deals with the paranormal as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you left us with a cliffhanger, but that's fine.
It's still really early development, but and y'all can always the show is growing. I've started a ghost tour business, so the sites that we feature on the show, we now are training tour guides that are empaths and intuitives that Sarah works with. So you can take an actual tour with a clairvoyant or a psychic that Sarah has worked with and at those sites specifically, so they know the energy is there. And so that's already launched at Pioneer Farms, and we're trying to get into all our other locations, but every month we'll have a tour there, so you can check our website and get all that information.
That's thenightOwl.com?
thenightowlpodcast.com. And I'll give y'all stickers at the end of the...
We all want stickers.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for that. And so now, Nicole, with your podcast, what kind of are your next steps or the next things that you're planning for that?
Well, we're actually, one of my goals is I really want to expand. I love the Austin area. We've now done something in San Antonio, but I love traveling. Recently, Taylor, one of my co-hosts, and I, we've gone to Kansas City, we've been to St. Augustine, and so I really would love to start expanding to other locations, and we're also going to be expanding actually to film. We have a film crew coming with us to Yorktown on Friday, so really looking forward to that, and a lot of paranormal stuff. We use investigative equipment as well. Our style is kind of the historical, in-depth historical research plus what I pick up on, plus we want to try to capture evidence as well, because I feel like just for that it's a little bit harder to refute, you know? It's like, hey, we have all of these things. And so some of the equipment and stuff, it's a bit harder to translate to podcasting. And so just being able to have a visual of that, I think will be really cool. So I'm really excited for that. Yay, fun.
Trying to hear it
Yay,
here.
fun. Yeah.
It's difficult. Okay, and then now for Aaron, for both of you, it's pretty much the same question. What's coming next? What are some projects that you're working on, and what are you excited about?
Yeah, I'm working right now. I'm working on the TV, which is super fun. Been doing some fun stuff both in sort of horror and a little bit in comedy in TV, which is super fun. I'm also I've been writing and directing a narrative podcast for Rooster Teeth here in Austin, which is about the Titanic. Basically, like a troop goes down to the Titanic and they find it's haunted. And we're recording that right now, which has been really fun. We've got a fellow named Eric Friend who does a lot of sound work here in Austin, a lot of work in film. He's done a lot of work with like Linklater through the years, and he's been doing a great job of sound design, like feeling the inside of the sunken Titanic, and that's been a blast. And then I'm trying to get my next feature up off the ground. So yeah.
Cool. Goodness. So we have a movie called The Requiem from Levon Kiet, the writer-director with Alicia Silverstone. It's like a shark attack film, basically. It's a drama. It's a drama with sharks. And I got to build a 9-foot practical great white shark, so that was really cool, just coming from Jaws.
Nice.
So that was fun.
Nice.
Fun to get to do. We shot that in Florida. And then we have, I mentioned the Higgins film, Start with the Demon. That'll be coming out early in 2022. We have another movie called Old Man with Stephen Lang, Lucky McKee, the May director, directed, and that's coming out soon as well. Probably
Did you say Lucky McKee?
Lucky McKee. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Stephen Lang. So that's coming out soon. And then we have a movie called Revealer. That's a kind of post-apocalyptic. It's about the two women who get stuck in a peep show booth during the apocalypse, and one's protesting the peep show booth and one works there, and they have to kind of come together to kind of like escape while like demonic things are going on outside. That was written by Tim Seeley, who did Hack Slash, the comic book series, and Michael Morrissey, who's writes for a bunch of a new comic called Barbaric. And then, oh goodness, then we have, I guess I can't say that yet. It's not public. But I just directed something very near and dear to my heart that I'm very excited to do. And we have that, and then God, I'm missing something right now too. We have like 4 or 5 movies at least that are all coming out in 2022. And then I'm starting a movie in 2 weeks here in Austin. That's called Blood Relatives. We haven't fully announced that, but there's kind of a soft announced it. Whatever. We're doing that with Noah Segan from Knives Out and Reaper. It's his directorial debut. And Follow.
Thank you.
Yes, Owen's film that Noah was leading. It was wonderful. And great casting. It's insane. No, they followed you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean the pun. I just mean they actually listened to you. You were a great writer, and So, but anyway, so we have that we're starting in just a couple weeks, and then Josh Rubin did Werewolves Within and Scare Me. He's a producer with me here. And we're really trying to hire as many female crews as we can on that movie. We're doing that right now, so people know local female crew that want to be a part. Let me know. And then I have another movie that's going in January. That's going to be in Oklahoma City. And then we have another movie announced called Shelby Oaks. That is kind of like Blair Witch on Blair Witch Tattoo. So that's a whole thing. I actually was an intern under Bill Whitaker, who was the Blair Witch attorney, who helped put together the whole Blair Witch lore, a lot of the lore with Ed Sanchez and Dan and those guys. So I was there. I saw original cuts of the Blair Witch and stuff back in the day. And it was a very, very poignant part in my filmmaking career, and look up to those guys a lot. And so we're trying to do our own version of a Blair Witch with, we're creating an internet mystery called the Paranormal. That's about a paranormal investigative team in the mid-2000s that goes out and search, and then they went missing. And we've created this whole thing, and you can actually search Paranormal. You'll find, all these big, YouTubers are talking about it, and millions of views and stuff. It's crazy. And it's kind of we're trying to create some virility behind that, to create this lore that we then have optioned this idea to then make a movie called Shelby Oaks about it. with Chris Stuckman, who is a well-known YouTube movie reviewer, and we're starting that next year as well. We've already started filming because we filmed all the Paranoid stuff that's on there. So yeah, bunch of movies. Yeah.
So what is the easiest place to find your works? If I was looking, because you said you had a relation with Shudder, is it all on the Shudder app, or where are the best places to find your works?
You can find them everywhere. So the stuff we've made, like Pale Door, Scare Package, Camera Obscura, I was produced on Starry Eyes, 15 Things You Didn't Know About Bigfoot, which is like a Vice mock-off kind of comedy about Bigfoot hunters, and stuff like that. So all those are just available everywhere, right? But if you have Shudder, you can find the majority that are there. Is Mercy Black still on Netflix?
Mercy Black's on Netflix, and I think Bloodfest is on Amazon Prime right now, maybe Showtime, and then Follows on Amazon Prime, I think. But yeah, they're kind of all over the place. But yeah.